WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
Moments ago, Eagle 8 HD arriving in Newport Richey, where the Pasco County Sheriff's Office is at the scene of where an adult female's decomposing remains have been found near the home of Kathleen Moore's boyfriend, Colin Knapp, arrested Monday in Moore's homicide. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. We found out last night that Colin Knapp, seen here on the right side of your screen, was arrested in Kathleen Moore's homicide. The big question was, where was Moore's body? As it turns out, we don't know for certain just yet. We are awaiting confirmation from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, but an adult female's remains have been found right here. Let's go full screen to Pasco County, Eagle 8 HD, not too far, really over Carmel Avenue. That is the home of Colin Knapp, Kathleen Moore's boyfriend, who was arrested and charged with second-degree homicide in Moore's death. And if you look closely here in Eagle 8 HD, you can see members of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. This is now like the backyard area. It's the best way to describe it. The wooded area behind the line of homes on Carmel Avenue. And they have set up a tent. And they set up the tent the moment that Eagle 8 HD arrives. So you can see some members of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Eagle 8 HD will be able to zoom out here soon and show you the line of houses, because not only is there just an absolutely massive law enforcement presence as far as Pasco County Sheriff's Office vehicles, forensics unit vehicles, but we also have a media presence. WFLA's Jeff Patterson is down there at the scene as well. But of course, crime scene tape has been put up, and they are not allowing anyone even to the homes themselves, beyond the homes, because behind the homes is this area where, again, an adult female's decomposing body has been found on Carmel Avenue, or behind Carmel Avenue in Newport Richey. I'm going to read the very latest that we have here from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. They sent in a media alert a short time ago, and again, it's very important for us to note that the remains have not been positively ID'd at this time, at least publicly released. Have the remains been identified as Kathleen Moore? But I'll share what we have from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office as of the alert that came in at about, let's see here, 2:18 Eastern Time. And they say at approximately 11:30 this morning, the Pasco County Sheriff's Office received a report from an individual walking in the area of Carmel Avenue, Newport Richey, of a decomposing body. The body has been determined to be that of an adult female located in a wooded area and covered by thick brush. We do not have any information regarding the identification of the deceased at this time, and the investigation is ongoing. PSO continues to investigate all leads pertaining to the investigation of Kathleen Moore's homicide. If anyone has information on this case, you can submit a tip to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office at 727-847-8102, option number 7, and any further updates will be provided once available. This coming from Brittany Morris, Public Information Officer for Pasco Sheriff's Office, as Eagle 8 HD is live over the scene of where that body, those decomposing remains, were found. And there you see the line of homes. One of these homes here, it's hard to see with Eagle's current vantage point, but one of these homes is the home of Colin Knapp, 30 years old, with a very long history of aggravated assault charges, aggravated aggravated battery charges, 10 felonies and 9 misdemeanors since 2004. They include narcotics charges, domestic violence charges. Colin Knapp, the boyfriend of Kathleen Moore, who, of course, we have been talking about over the last week here at WFLA, a woman who was last seen in this area Thanksgiving holiday weekend, the early morning hours of November 29th, last seen on this street, or at least last known to be on this street, Carmel Avenue in New Port Richey, near the area and at the home of her boyfriend. There was according to Colin Knapp, interviewed by detectives, he said that they were on the way home, that there were some arguments going on, and that he, of course, denied any involvement in Kathleen Moore's homicide, but he has been charged after, let's not forget, everybody, let's not forget that blood-soaked clothing belonging to the suspect was found in a dumpster at where he worked, that being, of course, Harold Seltzer's Steakhouse in Pasco County. The contents of that dumpster were dumped out at the Pasco County landfill to give forensics units the proper means and the proper area to search that dumpster. And according to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, they found just enough blood. They called it a lot of blood, and enough blood to definitively determine that Kathleen Moore had to be deceased. And they, of course, subsequently arrested Colin Knapp and charged him with second-degree homicide. So Eagle 8 HD, the very next day, not even 24 hours after that press conference, Eagle 8 HD now live over the scene of where this body has been found, not yet identified as Kathleen Moore, but it's an adult female's remains decomposing in the back area of this line of homes in New Port Richey. Streaming live on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, as well as WFLA's Facebook and YouTube pages. We will be featuring some of your comments using hashtag HeyJB soon, but troubling, to say the least, is what has transpired over the last 24 hours. It was a missing persons case, and there was hope of some kind, at least the family holding on to hope, all of us holding on to hope. I was holding on to hope that Kathleen Moore would be found alive. We don't need more victims. We need more stories of people being found safe and sound. But the news last night broke that it was a homicide investigation, and they had an arrest in that homicide investigation, that being the arrest of Colin Knapp. So Eagle 8 HD will be giving us some perspective here over the scene, and perhaps what we'll do is we will radio into Eagle and get some perspective shots. Eagle, this is JB. We're live on WFLA now. If you could provide us with some shots as well of the block and of the law enforcement presence that has gathered, that would be helpful for our audience here as well. Thank you. And there's Eagle now kind of shifting over to show you. This is Carmel Avenue now. Here is the Pasco County Sheriff's Office and their vehicles lined up here on the street. There you can see the crime scene tape along multiple houses. Of course, they don't want anyone getting back to that wooded area behind the home of Colin Knapp where the body or the remains were discovered. And the forensics unit, we believe, is on the scene. WFLA's Jeff Patterson is on the scene. Other media, of course, on the scene. And as soon as we have any information from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office or from officials that we can provide as far as identity of the remains, we'll pass it along to you, but it might be some time. What we'll usually have in a case like this, when remains are discovered, when a body is discovered, there is usually, if they can identify, everything comes down to the status of the remains. And sometimes remains are found in a short time frame from when the person was deceased, and officials can have a pretty good idea based on just visual evidence as to whether or not the remains belong to someone that they have been looking for. And they can say in a release, preliminary investigation reveals that we have the person that we're looking for. But if the remains are badly decomposed, it can take some time. It can take a considerable amount of time. A recent story that we have covered here extensively at WFLA, the skeletal remains being found of an individual that we were talking about on WFLA now. Those skeletal remains took a took some time. Now, those remains were then identified using dental records and then later positively ID'd, additionally through DNA analysis. But we'll, of course, find out here, hopefully sooner rather than later, for the family of Kathleen Moore, whether or not the remains that were discovered here today by somebody walking by finding these remains, hopefully for Kathleen Moore's family and friends, that they get closure, that these are the remains, because that family and those friends, those loved ones of Kathleen Moore, they deserve, at the very least, closure. They deserve the right to have a burial and to say goodbye. So if we have that confirmation come in anytime during this live stream, we'll pass it along to you on WFLA Now. Radio to Eagle. Eagle, thanks so much. If you could, again, kind of show us some of the area behind the homes where Pasco County Sheriffs are focusing their attention. Thank you. And here we now have the Eagle zooming in on the area. Now it's thick. It's a thick wooded area, a lot of trees here, so it's difficult to see beyond those trees. But when Eagle first got here, and we were assessing the situation before beginning the live stream, Pasco County Sheriff's Office, this is very procedural for them. They see a news chopper in the sky, and of course, their immediate response is to go get a tent, set up a tent, because they don't want the remains of somebody to be visible from the sky. So we are used to that being part of the process when we cover stories of a body being discovered. And here we have Eagle zooming in on some of the area that is being focused on. The area behind the row of homes on Carmel Avenue. There you can see, and there's a really good, the best shot we've had yet of that tent, and the best shot yet that we have had of the area that they are setting up. And now, of course, they have to do a forensics investigation here at the scene before they can transport the remains to the medical examiner's office or the coroner's office. So they are going to be collecting evidence at the scene, photographing the scene, going through the extensive process that prosecutors will need. Again, especially we have an arrest in this case, so ensuring that they do a thorough job here to gather any evidence, any potential DNA samples, whatever that they may have in this area before they transport the remains. And throughout this process, officials will then be working to confirm the identity of those remains, and whether or not they can do so preliminarily, they would then release it to the media if it is in fact someone that we have been covering in the stories that we have been covering. Of course, in the story that we've been covering is Kathleen Moore's disappearance and subsequent homicide. Folks, I'm going to step away from the microphone for just about 90 seconds. In the meantime, we'll try to get to some hashtag AJB questions and comments. You can file them in here, but again, live from Eagle 8 HD in Pasco County, specifically Newport Richey. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. Good afternoon, everyone. Troubling story, of course, with Kathleen Moore. Just terrible. We've been covering it for nearly a week. Again, missing Thanksgiving holiday weekend. November 29th was the last time that she was seen or known to be, or her last known whereabouts were right here, Carmel Avenue in Newport Richey, at the home of her boyfriend, Colin Knapp, who we've been talking about extensively over the last 24 hours on WFLA Now. There you see him on your screen. Very long criminal history. And as we go back here to Eagle, it's right behind his house that Kathleen Moore, his girlfriend's remains, might have been found based on the information that's coming into our newsroom now. An adult female's remains, decomposing body was found here behind the home. We are awaiting confirmation, but we're communicating in real time. I just stepped off the microphone for a moment to confirm with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office if there's any new details this time that we can report here for you, our audience, and pass along public information from the Public Information Office of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. As soon as they respond to that note, we'll share that with our audience here. But in the meantime, we have a body, an adult female's body, that was found behind the row of homes here on Carmel Avenue. That's the Kathleen Moore focused search area, of course. And I'll bring up some of the comments that are coming in. You can use hashtag HJB, and this first one that came in, and we'll flash it on our screen. Jana Ferguson, hashtag HJB, who found the body? And the body was found by somebody just walking in the area. I'll read it again. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office received a report of an individual walking in the area of Carmel Avenue, Newport Richey, of a decomposing body. This is interesting, only because it's not an area you would really just kind of walk. It's a wooded area behind a row of homes. It doesn't look really all that much like there's any trails back here. It's not a place you would casually go for a stroll or casually go to walk your dog. But somebody walking in the area of Carmel Avenue found a decomposing body. Now, let me say this. There have been people searching for Kathleen Moore. And when we were live on WFLA Now last night with the news that Colin Knapp had been arrested and charged with second-degree homicide in her death, there was talk on social media that there were going to be people that, talking about organizing search efforts, trying to get out there, doing everything that they could to find Kathleen Moore's remains and bring closure to the family. I don't know who found these remains. I don't know whether that person who found the remains was intentionally looking for a body. But it's an individual, they say, walking in the area of Carmel Avenue, coming across this body. Now, if you're walking on Carmel Avenue, I don't think you can see a body from the sidewalk. You can't see a body from the street. You can't see behind these homes really all that well, and Jeff Patterson, who's there at the scene, will be able to provide us with more context as to the vantage point. But it's interesting to note that somebody found the body walking in the area of Carmel Avenue, but it's not an area that really looks like, there's power lines back there. It's a dense wooded area, lots of trees. It doesn't look like an area you would go to walk your dog or just, enjoy a walk through your neighborhood. Doesn't seem like that kind of spot, but that's what we have. I'll look for some more of your hashtag HJB questions and comments as we await new information from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Oh, just in. All right, we've got an update. Update just in here, everybody, on WFLA Now.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
Sheriff Chris Nacco will be providing an update regarding the investigation of Kathleen Moore's homicide at a news conference at 4:45 at the Pasco County Sheriff's Office Media Room in Newport Richey, Florida. This according to Brittany Morris, the Public Information Officer. So a second press conference in 24 hours by the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, and we believe that this one, yes, will be connected to Kathleen Moore. Yeah, no, they say it right here. Connected to Kathleen Moore's homicide. So a discovery of a body, and now a press conference being called for 4:45 Eastern Time at the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. That is in about an hour from now. Let me explain how this is going to work for all of you joining us on WFLA Now. We'll be live here for a little bit longer. I think we're going to be live until about 4 o'clock Eastern time. We'll continue to talk about what we have here. And as Eagles in the air, we're going to stay here with you. So we'll stay here with you live on WFLA Now and continue to talk about the Kathleen Moore story. But we are going to be ending the Facebook live stream at around 4 o'clock. We'll stay live on YouTube. But we're going to end the Facebook live stream at 4 o'clock Eastern and prepare for a new live stream on Facebook with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office announcing an update in the homicide investigation of Kathleen Moore. So I'll stay here with you live, everybody, for another 20 or so minutes, and we'll continue to take some of the hashtag HJB, even just observations. If you want to send prayers to Kathleen Moore's family or closest friends, just flash up some comments on screen with that hashtag HJB, as we do on WFLA Now interactively. And we'll stay here with you live until about 4 o'clock. And then at 4:45, we will be bringing you live to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office for this press conference. So let's go live to Eagle 8 HD. I'm going to step off the mic for 30 seconds looking for your latest hashtag HJB comments. Again, 4:45 Eastern Time, Chris Nacco, Sheriff of Pasco County, will be announcing an update in the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation. Back here with you live on WFLA Now. JB here with you on the stream, everybody. And again, was just reacting to that news that just came in that a 4:45 press conference has been called by the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, and we'll be hearing yet again from Chris Nacco with an update on the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation. We're going to stay here with you live from Eagle 8 HD, and we're going to be taking your questions and comments here. But look, you can kind of see really, if you peek close now, peek between these trees, you can see the area that has been set up. You can see the tent that has been erected. You can see that they are actively working the scene where these remains were found, a adult female's decomposing body, according to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, in the area directly behind the row of homes on Carmel Avenue where the boyfriend lives, that being Colin Knapp. Colin Knapp, who we've been talking about on WFLA now, the 30-year-old boyfriend of Kathleen Moore, in arguments with Kathleen Moore on Thanksgiving weekend, the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And you heard Chris Nacco, if you were with us last night, you remember how he opened up the press conference talking about how domestic violence is an issue that requires more attention. And he highlighted how this was another story impacted by domestic violence. And I tweeted out last night resources for those impacted by domestic violence, domestic abuse, resources available, including in Pasco County. The Sunrise Shelter of Pasco County is an available resource for people, a shelter for victims of domestic abuse. So very important that we highlight that component of the story that we are now covering, Kathleen Moore's homicide, and an update coming your way in 1 hour from right now from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. And we'll be live with you on WFLA Now to bring you there to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office for that update. Let's get to some of the questions and comments that have been coming in, and we'll take this one from Melissa, #HeyJB. How far is the area from Kathleen's home? Kathleen lived in Largo and lived in Pinellas County, which is pretty long ways away from this area in Pasco County. So they were returning for the night after Thanksgiving, after seeing friends, family. They were returning to Pasco County, to Newport Richey, and made the drive all the way up from Pinellas County to Pasco County. So, but the area that the remains were found is incredibly close to the home of Colin Knapp. It's one of these homes. It's hard to see from Eagle, but it's one of these homes here on the right side of your screen. Again, I'll throw up some comments for supportive comments as we see somebody with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office kind of walking between a couple of these homes towards that back area where the remains were discovered. I said I would throw up some comments because we know that that friends and family of Kathleen Moore have been watching our live streams. So if anybody wants to throw up kind comments in support of Kathleen Moore's family, we'll flash those up on screen as well. Cliff McAfee Jr., #HeyJB, praying for strength, healing, and understanding. Tammy Danielson, #HeyJB, was the body found directly behind the suspect's house? This is something I'm trying to get clarified as well. And if I get that clarified, I will, Tammy. And, you know, I'll try to text Jeff Patterson right now. In fact, let's do that here together. I'm going to text Jeff. All right, Tammy, I just sent over a text message to Jeff. He's on the ground, and it has a much better vantage point to give us. And with this being such a heavily wooded area behind this row of homes, it can be really difficult for us to see exactly where the body is located in relation to Colin Knapp's home. And it's hard to see and focus in on that while we're here on live stream, but I'll get that answer for you here momentarily. Bonnie Nash, but yeah, we can talk about this one. #JB, did the boyfriend live that close to the area? Yeah, it's extraordinarily close. This is the row of homes on Carmel Avenue where Colin Knapp lived or lives. And, of course, he was denied bond earlier today. I tweeted that out as well. So Colin Knapp being held on second-degree homicide and will not be released on bond, according to a judge at his arraignment today. You know, I want to let me bring up really quickly something. And, Bonnie, to answer your question really quickly, the boyfriend did live close to the area where the remains were found, extraordinarily close, really behind the homes on his street. But I want to bring this up from Jeff. Jeff was at the arraignment today, and he had an interesting note. And the arraignment occurred, and he said, let me bring this up here, going down my long list of tweets here on my WFLA Twitter account, and let's see. Here it is. Okay. WFLA's Jeff Patterson reports from the arraignment that the judge said that there were new developments in the case that make it clear that this is murder. And we didn't know what that meant at the time because we didn't know that a body had been found. But at the arraignment, the judge said that there were new developments that make it clear that this is murder. And we can't say for certain, but the judge very well might have learned, been given a heads up from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office that they had discovered a body in the area of Knapp's home. It's possible. We don't know how that lines up chronologically. The arraignment, of course, was noon today. The body was found at 11:30. So is it possible that the body being found and by the time that the arraignment occurred at noon, that the word had reached the judge's ear that a body had been found near Colin Knapp's home? It's certainly possible, but we can't say for sure. Some other comments coming in across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We'll go back here again. You need to see Eagle 8 HD right now live over Carmel Avenue, where a tent has been set up over the remains that were discovered by somebody walking in the area of Carmel Avenue, according to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, and the remains are an adult female's remains. A decomposing body. Jessica, hashtag HeyJB. Why did they not use dogs to search that area by now? And how did nobody notice a smell if they're saying that the body was decomposed? It's a good question. And we don't know that they haven't used dogs. And we're being told that Eagle 8 HD is about to leave the scene. To refuel. But Jessica, I don't know. I can't say for certain whether or not dogs were used. We, of course, have had reporters visiting Carmel Avenue, Justin Checker, Jeff Patterson, in the last several days. I believe Olivia Steen as well, another WFLA reporter, being in this area. And we can't say for certain that dogs weren't used. But you would imagine that if a dog was at the scene, if there was a trained canine at the scene, a canine unit, that they're going to come across that odor, the odor of a decomposing body. And how did nobody notice a smell if they're saying, now I'll pass along this note. I can't say, well, you know what? I'll just say I can't say that nobody didn't notice a smell. It's very possible that an odor, but how often is it that you're walking down your street and you might smell something funny, and you don't think anything of it? It's possible that somebody noticed a smell, but maybe now that this story has received the attention that it has, perhaps now there was more heightened awareness in the area of Carmel Avenue, and that could have been the first sign, if it was an odor, that alerted a passerby to check the area behind the homes. Jessica, thanks for your comment. Sue, hashtag HJB, sending thoughts and prayers to the family. Sue, thank you for your comment. Jessica, hashtag HJB. I'm from Pasco, but I live in Vermont now. Whereabout is the crime scene located? This is Carmel Avenue in Newport Richey, the Gulf Coast side of Florida. And yeah, Jessica, if you know Pasco County, then, well, it's Newport Richey, Carmel Avenue. And for those of you outside the area, Newport Richey is one of the coastal communities, and probably one of the largest coastal communities, if not the largest, in Pasco County. That is the northern side of the Tampa Bay area, north of Tampa, but right there on the Gulf Coast side of the peninsula. So I know people that live in the area of Newport Richey. I know a lot of folks that live in Pasco County, great place to live, as Eagle 8 HD is now departing the scene. And speaking of Newport Richey, speaking of Pasco County, you're getting a overlook live here from Eagle 8 HD. And again, I want to make this very clear. As Eagle 8 HD leaves from the scene, a press conference is getting underway at 4:45 Eastern Time. We're going to be live ahead of that to welcome in our audience. It takes some time for the audience to find, our live stream, whether it be on Facebook, on YouTube, or on WFLA.com. It takes a moment for everybody to find the live stream. So we'll start a little bit early as we anticipate this update from Sheriff Chris Nacco and break down the very latest from our audience, including those who perhaps are still unaware of Kathleen Moore's story. So as Eagle 8 HD heads back to Tampa for fuel, we'll answer one or two more final questions here on WFLA Now. But I say final just on this stream for Facebook. YouTube, hello YouTube. We're going to be staying live in this YouTube stream up until just Facebook and YouTube work differently. So that's just a little bit of an explanation as we lose now Eagle Shot. That's an explanation why we stream. We have different stream tactics for Facebook and YouTube. We're going to stay live on YouTube, but end the stream on Facebook and start a new Facebook live stream as soon as the sheriff's press conference gets underway. Because we want everybody to be able to hear that information. So, this is I'm very glad, Teresa, that you're asking this question. You guys are now really starting to file in some really good questions that I'm seeing that just popped up here. Let's see if we can take 3 more, including the 2 that were really good that just came in. Good question as well from Amanda. Can't throw up theories pertaining to anybody in his inner circle. Can't do it. When they're that unsubstantiated. Yeah. Okay, so let's throw up these final. Starting with Teresa. Teresa's has an excellent comment. Teresa Pace, #HJB. Would it be possible he, Colin Knapp, told them where her body was? And it certainly is possible. We don't know for sure. And anything would be, of course, it would be speculation to say that he did. Here's what we were told in the press conference last night, that he was inconsistent, Colin Knapp. We'll throw Colin Knapp on our screen. That he was inconsistent with his cooperation with law enforcement. And then once he was arrested, that he was choosing to be represented by an attorney, and I believe that he was remaining silent or not saying much, provided that he was waiting for his attorney. I would imagine, of course, his attorney being there today at the arraignment, there's been conversations now. And is it possible that Colin Knapp told his attorney and based on his conversations with whomever his attorney is, we don't know, to reveal the location of the body? We do not know. Is it possible? Yes, of course it's possible. But maybe we'll find out more. Maybe we'll find out more about how this body was discovered at this 4:45 press conference by the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. It'll be very interesting to find out more as to whether or not Knapp had anything to do with the discovery of the remains. But you know what? It's not as if the remains were found in this extraordinarily remote, random, spontaneous area that only Knapp, potentially him being the accused, would know about. So it was located right behind his home, or in the area behind his home. So, not entirely sure. We'll find out more at 4:45. We're going to find out more at 4:45. Savannah Hinson, #HJB. Great profile picture there from Savannah. Was she trying to get away from him? They were fighting. That's been confirmed by friends. Said that they were having arguments. It's been confirmed by Knapp himself. Said that there was an argument that took place after their return trip from the Thanksgiving holiday, and the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, of course, noting the theme of the press conference that was introduced at the press conference last night was domestic violence. So was she trying to get away? Jessica Brummett, friend, the Brummett family, telling WFLA's Justin Checker that there was an Uber called, that there was a FaceTime call and there was an Uber, but based on what we found out in the press conference last night, that there was no confirmed Uber ride called for by Kathleen Moore, that they could not find any evidence that that Uber request was made. And Amanda Woodward, hashtag HJB, do we know if anyone in the home has been brought in for questioning? We don't, but perhaps we'll find out more at 4:45 Eastern time. That is less than an hour. It's 45 minutes from pretty much right now, 47 minutes from right now. So let's explain how this is going to work. First and foremost, everything that we know about the story right now is on WFLA.com. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can click on the link in the description of this video. It'll take you over to our article where it's all laid out there for you, including for people that are maybe just now catching up on the Kathleen Moore story. We're going to be staying live on YouTube. So to our YouTube audience, don't go anywhere. We're staying live on YouTube. And for our Facebook audience, we're going to be signing off, ending this live stream, but coming back before the 4:45 press conference and beginning a new Facebook live stream because, again, just streaming works different across different platforms. So Facebook, we'll be saying farewell. YouTube, we're going to be staying live with a feed. I'm going to be stepping off the microphone for about half an hour or so. Be back in about half an hour. And we'll continue the conversation, continue our streaming coverage on WFLA Now of Kathleen Moore, victim of homicide, according to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. And now we have these remains that were discovered, decomposing adult female's body discovered in the area behind her boyfriend's home. The boyfriend arrested yesterday and charged with second-degree homicide, that being right here on the right side of your screen, Colin Knapp. To Amanda, Savannah, Teresa, Jessica, Sue, Jessica, Bonnie, Tammy, all of our commenters using hashtag HJB, I appreciate it. Back here with you in about, I would say, 35 or so minutes across all of our various platforms. YouTube, we're staying live. Facebook will be restarting here in a short time, in a short while, again, for the 4:45 Eastern Time press conference from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Hello there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now between streams here, 4:45 Eastern Time. Sheriff Chris Nacco is going to be coming up with an update on the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation. Got something for our YouTube audience. Sticking around here waiting for that 4:45 Eastern Time update. Loading up some stuff for our next stream. But I want to show this to you. If you're watching on YouTube, this was the arraignment. It was a very brief arraignment. It all happened in 16 seconds when Colin Knapp, seen here on the right side of your screen, was arraigned today and denied bond by a judge in Pasco County. But I want you to listen to, we're going to play the 60-second clip. I want you to listen to the final 10 seconds of it, because you'll hear that the judge has said that there has been new developments in the case, and that might have been something passed to the judge to let him know, perhaps, that a body was found in the Kathleen Moore search area. But you decide for yourself. Decide for yourself. This is around 12 o'clock today, noon today in Pasco County, the very brief 60-second arraignment of Colin Knapp.
Okay, I can hear my... Okay, thank you. Colin Knapp. Mr. Knapp, you had a warrant that was issued for you for murder in the second degree, and you've been set at no bond in this case. Do you wish to have an attorney to represent you in this matter?
Yes.
Can you afford one, sir?
No.
All right, well, appoint the public defender. The bond remain at no bond. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, can he be brought?
Yes.
He's entitled to a bond unless the court makes a finding that proof of guilt is evident or the presumption is great, as per Rule 3.131 in the Rules of Criminal Procedure.
I'm aware of that, counsel.
I know you.
Okay. All right. And I am making that finding. So
Thank you, Judge.
perhaps you're not aware of, there's been new developments in that case as well. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Which makes it even clearer. Okay, next case.
New developments in this case that makes it even clearer are the words of the judge who denied bond to Colin Knapp. You also heard there that he doesn't have the financial means to hire an attorney, or at least he denied the hiring of an attorney, and he will be represented by a public defender in Pasco County, Florida. We are about 13 minutes away from Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco. That's coming up here next, everybody, on WFLA Now. We'll continue to stay here with you live on YouTube. Facebook stream is coming up. Hey everybody, JB Buno, stand by for stream here, coming up on WFLA Now.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Streaming live on WFLA Now, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY. Here's JB Buno.
Moments away from a Pasco County Sheriff update in the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation after an adult female's decomposing body was found right here in this spot that you're looking at from Eagle 8 HD moments ago in a wooded area near the home of her boyfriend, the man arrested in her homicide. Boyfriend, Colin Knapp. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now engaging our Facebook Live audience yet again. Let's again show you the spot. This was Eagle 8 HD within about 90 minutes or so from right now. Eagle 8 HD making the flight to Newport Richey, where a decomposing body was found by somebody walking in the area of Carmel Avenue. That is the area where Colin Knapp lived, and the area, of course, where Kathleen Moore was last seen or last known to be. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office has called a 4:45 press conference. We're expected to learn more about this discovery behind the home in the area of Colin Knapp's home. And we'll show you here from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. The podium has been set up, and we're about to see Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco. But before we do so, we're here with you live a little bit to give our audience an opportunity to kind of file in on WFLA Now. And I want to show you something that we didn't get to show our Facebook Live audience in the previous stream. It is a 60-second arraignment that happened today in Pasco County Court. It was the arraignment of Colin Knapp. You're going to see him, video of him in the courtroom, appearing virtually as we're doing still amidst the pandemic. And I want you to pay attention. We're going to play the 60-second clip. Again, the entirety of the arraignment was done in 60 seconds. But the final few seconds of this clip, you're going to hear the judge say that there was new updates, in this case, new developments. Listen for yourself. This was earlier today, about noon Eastern time, the arraignment of Colin Knapp in Pasco County Court.
Okay, I can hear mine. Okay, thank you. Colin Knapp. Mr. Knapp, you had a warrant that was issued for you for murder in the second degree, and you've been set at no bond in this case. Do you wish to have an attorney to represent you in this matter?
Yes.
Can you afford one, sir?
No.
All right, well, appoint the public defender. The bond remain at no bond. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, can he be brought?
Yes.
He's entitled to a bond unless the court makes a finding that proof of guilt is evident or the presumption is great, as per Rule 3.131 in the Rules of Criminal Procedure.
I'm aware of that, counsel.
I know you are.
Okay, all right. And I am making that finding. So
Thank you, Judge.
perhaps you're not aware of, there's been new developments in that case as well. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Which makes it even clearer. Okay, next case.
Judge Mansfield saying that there were new developments in the case that make it even clearer. Now, we don't know what the developments were, but the person walking in the area of Carmel Avenue found the body or alerted authorities of the body being discovered in the area of Carmel Avenue around 11:30. That arraignment happening about half an hour later. So it's certainly possible that that was the developments they were talking about, but perhaps we'll find out more from this press conference. That you see the podium set up on the right side of your screen. We're moments away from Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco from holding his second press conference in a 24-hour period. Last night it was to confirm that not only is Kathleen Moore deceased at the age of 34, but that her 30-year-old boyfriend, Colin Knapp, was arrested in her homicide after blood-soaked clothing were found in the dumpster of the restaurant in which he worked. That restaurant being Harold Seltzer Steakhouse in Pasco County. And now you just saw there in the video the arraignment. We have Colin Knapp arrested and denied bond, serving, being behind bars on the second-degree homicide charge. So we'll hit the touchscreen here, take you over to Pasco County, show you the podium here. Chris Nacco, Pasco County Sheriff, moments away from speaking at the podium. And we'll find out here whether or not the update is, of course, the update that we all are thinking about as far as the remains that were found right in the area of Colin Knapp's home in Newport Richey. The discovery made this morning, and I'll read as we await Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco. I will read the update that we got in this morning, again, from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. And this was available on Twitter. It was available on a lot of different places. But I'll read it here as follows. At approximately 11:30 a.m. this morning, Pasco Sheriff's Office receives a report from an individual walking in the area of Carmel Avenue, Newport Richey, of a decomposing body. The body has been determined to be that of an adult female located in a wooded area and covered by thick brush. We do not have any information regarding the identification of the deceased at this time, and the investigation is ongoing. PSO continues to investigate all leads pertaining to the investigation of Kathleen Moore's homicide. Anyone with information in this case, submit a tip to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office at 727-847-8102, option number 7. Any further updates will be provided once available. They then announced about an hour or so later that Sheriff Chris Nacco will be providing a 4:45 update in the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation, and that's what you're looking at here on the right side of your screen. So within moments, I'm sure that Sheriff Chris Nacco making his final preparations, going over his notes, and giving, again, his second press conference in a 24-hour period. Sheriff Chris Nacco on the Kathleen Moore. We know, in fact, is about the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation because a media alert went out to the media informing us that it was pertaining to the Kathleen Moore case. Setting up the camera shot is our team here at WFLA. This will likely be airing as well on WFLA News Channel 8, your NBC station. But wanted to, again, get here live and give everyone on Facebook Live the opportunity to find this live stream. It can be difficult for some people to find the stream on Facebook. We try to be as live and as accessible in as many places as possible. Facebook Live on the WFLA, WFLA JB Facebook accounts, WFLA Now on YouTube, as well as on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. We want to give everybody the opportunity to hear the very beginning of the press conference because usually, the beginning of the press conference is where they announce what the press conference is about. So don't want you to miss the beginning. So if you're just filing in, if you're commenting along here with us, you haven't missed anything. The Pasco Sheriff, Chris Nacco, is going to be speaking here in a moment about the Kathleen Moore homicide investigation with an update. Let's show you again this area. And I have it here on out of the corner of my eye on the touchscreen. We can go over to the press conference as soon as Nacco walks up to the podium. But this was, if you didn't see the previous stream, this was Eagle 8 HD's trip to Newport Richey. And as soon as Eagle 8 HD was there and the news chopper, our news chopper was in the air, the Pasco County Sheriff's Office setting up a tent to ensure that nothing could be visible from the sky. When they discover decomposing remains, the decomposing body, of course, the procedure is to gather all evidence, photograph the area. There's a of course, a procedure, a forensic procedure that takes place. So that procedure was taking place when Eagle 8 HD arrived at the scene. Once that procedure is concluded, the remains can then be transported either by the coroner, the medical examiner, wherever the body is going to be taken to for further examination. So that's when we got there at the scene with Eagle 8 HD, and we're now, again, moments away from the Pasco County Sheriff having their press conference here at 4:45 Eastern Time. The time now 4:51 Eastern. Wherever you're watching from, Facebook Live, WFLA.com, the WFLA app, YouTube Live, wherever you're watching from, you haven't missed anything. JB Buno here with you. And what we're going to do is after the press conference, just as we did last night, after the press conference concludes, we stay here with you live on WFLA Now and go over some of the notes of what we have learned in that press conference. Sometimes it can be hard to keep up. It's, depending on, of course, the official. Some law enforcement officials will speak very, very quickly. It can be very hard to decipher all that information in a short amount of time. So we'll stay here with you live and talk about where the investigation goes from here and what we have learned. We're going to break it down for you and talk with you, our audience, interactively on WFLA Now as soon as the press conference is done. But if you're just finding this live stream on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live, you haven't missed a thing. Sheriff Chris Nacco, moments away from speaking here in Pasco County. Joining us on YouTube Live, we have Anna, Dominique, Jason, Kathy, Janine, Judy Jovi, Lauren Hall, Patty. A lot of folks joining us on YouTube Live. And again, we'll be engaging with you and trying to answer your questions based on comments that are made by Sheriff Chris Nacco once they do come in. And again, you can use hashtag HeyJB and we can feature your comments interactively on screen. This is an interesting question here from Raven Spencer. Is there a chance of upgraded charges? We'll bring up this question here as we await Sheriff Chris Nacco. Raven Spencer asking on Facebook Live, hashtag HeyJB, once they have the body, can they charge him with first-degree murder? I asked because I thought someone mentioned he is being charged with second degree right now. And this is what we do interactively on WFLA Now. We can talk to you about the stories that we cover and make sure that there isn't misinformation online. There's always going to be misinformation online, but we can always talk with you and interact with you, our audience. There is a charge right now of second-degree homicide for Colin Knapp. Again, we'll throw him up here on your screen. Second-degree homicide. Is there a chance that it gets upgraded to first degree? Absolutely. It, of course, depends on where the investigation takes them. And also, too, what has Colin Knapp indicated to law enforcement? Has there been any additional conversations between Knapp and law enforcement? You heard in the arraignment a short time ago when we were playing back that clip during the arraignment, you heard that that Colin Knapp could not financially, of course, hire an attorney. So he's being appointed a public defender, and it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not there's going to be any additional communication, any cooperation from Knapp and law enforcement as he is charged with second-degree homicide. But to answer your question, Raven, is there a chance that we have an elevated charge? Absolutely. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office could be and likely is in contact with and has been in contact with, of course, district attorney, the district attorney for the district, and depending on what they have determined or what they have found in their investigation today, elevated charges are absolutely possible. Here with you live on WFLA Now. The time now 4:54 Eastern Time. So we're expecting Sheriff Chris Nacco here momentarily. I believe that we also have a shot from outside. Yeah, we do. I think that Jeff Patterson and our WFLA News Channel 8 team is preparing for a live report on of course, your NBC station here in Tampa Bay, WFLA 8 on your side. So if you have been here before, you walk through that door and it takes you over to exactly right here, Pasco Sheriff's Office. And we just saw some additional law enforcement officials walk in the room. Let's see if we can just bring you some audio. Let's just listen in for a moment.
Hello?
There's the detective who we heard from last night and other law enforcement officials. And here is Sheriff Chris Nacco. Let's listen in.
Let me know when you're ready. Everybody good to go? All right. Again, our condolences go out to the family of Kathleen Moore, all our family and friends. We know you've been through a lot over the past week or so, and then also within the past 24 hours. I can say, she is deceased. Today we positively identified her body based on tattoos. The call came in around 11:30 this morning that she was discovered in the woods off of Kamalo Drive, which is, she was about 50 yards northeast of Colin Knapp's home. And so it is a very heavily brushed area. She was actually covered. You can almost describe she was definitely covered on purpose to make sure nobody can come upon her. And you know, even as detectives will tell you, even when you're 2 feet away from her, it's hard to see that her body was there. And I will say, you know, K-9 did track that area. K-9 did track that area, but there's several factors that come into it, you know, wind, weather, decomposition. So, you know, they did their best, but that wasn't just a focal point as we were looking at this investigation. You know, there was an investigation, there was numerous places that we had looked at, you know, the dumpster where the cell phone was found, you know, at Sam Seltzer's restaurant, the dumpsters that were brought to a location to go through. And I want to reiterate that. There was a lot of evidence that had been found in those dumpsters, and when that was found, there was 14 additional industrial-sized dumpsters that went out there that our detectives combed through. Over 20 detectives were combing through these dumpsters because that's where all the evidence was leading to. But again, I want to thank our citizens. Last night we put out a plea for help, and they did. At 11:30 this morning, we got the call because citizens were out there helping us. And that's the one thing about Pasco County. Our citizens work with law enforcement. They work side by side with the sheriff's office. That's saying we fight as one. That's all of us. That's the we. And we are going to bring justice for Kathleen. We did that together. I wish to God we could bring her back. She's with God now. She's with the angels. And we pray for her. We pray for her family right now because they're going through so much. But with that, we will bring her justice. We will bring her family justice. You know, that is important. So, you know, I want to thank all the members of our community. I want to thank our detectives for the outstanding work they did. And I just ask right now that we pray for her family. And I also ask that if anybody is in a domestic violence relationship, please use Kathleen's life to learn from the fact that maybe her life, her sacrifice that she went through is to save somebody else. And it is to save you because you're in that horrible domestic violence relationship, get out of it. Because if there's something positive that can come out of her death, is that somebody else will live. So please continue to pray for her. If you're in a horrible relationship, please get out of it. There are resources like Sunrise. We will get you help. With that, is there any questions for myself or Sergeant Rosa?
Can we determine the manner of death at this point?
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Rosa, R-O-S-A. I'm a sergeant with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit. And no, ma'am, to answer your question, it is too early in our investigation to actually determine that or release that information.
Do we anticipate charges being upgraded now that the body has been found?
It's too early to say that, ma'am.
Anything you can say about the search and K-9s from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office going over this area and not finding her sooner?
I will let the sheriff answer that.
Yeah. So this is one of those things. It's just one of those things that, you know, we're human beings. We did our best. We've done our best. You know, we had drones up. We had deputies out there. We had K-9s out there. And it's one of those things. She was a very wooded area, covered up. Wind, weather, decomposition, those all play factors in a search. So I'll go back to it. It's everything in life works better when it's a team. And that plea to our citizens, we mean it. We want our citizens to work with us. And that's what happened. The citizens were out there working with us. And those dogs do a phenomenal job. But this is the facts of life. We have to work together as a team. And when we work together as a team, those are those things that came together. And we were able to find Kathleen. You know, that was a critical part. But, you know, I'm proud of the work our detectives did. The focus of the investigation actually was those dumpsters. 14 industrial-sized dumpsters. People were, you know, remember, the evidence, the blood-stained clothing was in those dumpsters. We had to search all those dumpsters before they got taken off to landfills. We wanted to make sure that every piece of evidence, God forbid if Kathleen was in one of those dumpsters, that we found her before they were taken out of our community. That was a focus for us. There was no evidence that led us that she was going to be 50 yards into that wood line at the time. What was priority for us was getting into those dumpsters and making sure she was not in there. As horrible, as gruesome as that sounds, it's the truth. And that's what we had to focus on at the time. But as we go back, was that area going to be searched again? Yes, because we did our due diligence in those dumpsters. We were going to go back to other areas to keep searching. We know it was critical to find her. We know that it was critical to Bruce Bartlett's office at the state attorney's office. to make sure that they get prosecution. And I know, and I heard people, oh, how can you make that arrest? You know, how can the state attorney get a warrant when there was no body? There was a lot of evidence. But we know finding her, 2 reasons. One, most importantly, is for her family. I can't imagine a family, you know, one is knowing she's dead, but even worse is not knowing where she is. Second is to make sure we get prosecution, we get justice in this case. So I can understand that part where people say, I can't believe that, you know, well, how can you not find her? It wasn't the focus at the time because all the evidence led us to believe she may have been in one of those 14 dumpsters.
Can you talk a little bit about the evidence, a little bit more about the evidence that you guys used to make that arrest yesterday? Obviously, we couldn't talk about it because we hadn't found her.
Right.
Does finding her now change that?
And I'll let Sergeant Rosa, because they're the ones going to be working with the prosecutors.
So not necessarily, ma'am. So we can tell you that it was more than just the blood on our defendant's pants that led us to the arrest. However, a lot of information we cannot reveal at this time. I will tell you that my unit and my leadership has worked multiple homicide investigations, and our investigations don't stop after an arrest. Our investigations, most of the time in homicides, begin after an arrest. So we were planning on doing multiple other things during this investigation to include researching those woods.
Can you talk a little bit about the tattoos that were used to identify her? Where were those located, and what were those of?
Probably out of like respect for the family, I'm not going to give you where the tattoos were located, but there were multiple tattoos that specifically identify her.
Are you able to give us a time of death or an estimation on when you believe she might have died?
No, ma'am. And at this point, we are working on that right now with different scientists right now to figure that out. But however, we cannot give that. I would be guessing at this point.
Sheriff, I know you had a message for Knapp yesterday. You were pleading with him to say something to help us find her. Obviously that didn't happen, but now that we found her, any message to him tonight?
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that one point. I just want to hit this other point too. Remember also, when this investigation started and it came out of Pinellas and they said that Kathleen was last missing here in Pasco, we didn't assume that she was dead. You know, we assumed that she was alive, and we were searching to find a live person. So those things, when you're doing searches, you're moving quick. You're going places. So I just want to make sure that's out there. A message to the arrested individual in this case, you know, I go back to it again. There is a God. There's a God who knows everything. And he cannot take back, the suspect cannot take back what he did in this case. But what he can do is make something positive going forward. Make it easier on the family. Answer their questions. You know, answer the why. Because we have the evidence. We have Kathleen now. If he wants to make a positive difference in somebody's life, help the family out, answer their questions, give them a little bit of piece of justice back, give them, you know, don't let them live with that why the rest of their lives. Answer their questions, because that's the only thing right now, the only thing that he could do that would be a positive in somebody's life.
Have you guys made contact with Knapp today after you positively identified Kathleen?
No, ma'am. Last time we spoke to Mr. Knapp, he just said that he no longer wanted to answer any more questions. So at that point, we stopped.
Is it possible that she could have been moved from a primary location to the second location, or do you believe this is where the crime occurred?
We probably can't answer it at this point. Our investigation is still going. I really can't answer that at this point. I apologize.
You said she was covered. Was it with a blanket? Was it with dirt? She like buried? Like, can you kind of describe?
So the best way to say that she was covered by the environment outside.
All right. We appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your time.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here is J.B. Buno.
The body of Kathleen Moore found this morning by folks trying to help investigators in her disappearance and then death. You can see here the Pasco County Sheriff's Office and forensics teams on Eagle 8 HD a short time ago at the scene of where the remains were discovered, remains that were just confirmed to be that of Kathleen Moore, dead at the age of 34. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. You just heard from Sheriff Chris Nacco. Let's go over everything that we have learned. But This is the news, of course, that we had feared, that the body that was found, according to, I believe, the number that I heard, and you guys, YouTube, you guys are great at this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard 50 yards away from Colin Knapp's home. Please let me know if you heard the same thing. I don't know if I heard 15 or 50, but a very short distance away from Colin Knapp's home is where the remains of Kathleen Moore were discovered. Making, of course, it sounds as if covered by brush, covered by the elements of the environment, and those remains were identified to be Kathleen Moore through tattoos, matching tattoos. They didn't get into the details, the specifics. We, of course, sometimes we do get, YouTube, thank you, saying 50. I appreciate it. Sometimes you hear 15, 50. I heard 50 as well. And with Stephanie Crone Overholtz, we had the visible tattoo that was shared out. That was the primary means of identifying Stephanie Crone Overholtz. So sometimes you do get details about tattoos. That's a distinguishable characteristic that somebody has on their person that makes them identifiable to law enforcement in terrible situations such as somebody's death. So here we have the terrible news, and we were told in advance of this press conference, WFLA's Justin Shecker informing me that the family of Kathleen Moore was told of this news, that the body that they had found, that they had believed that it matched the description of Kathleen Moore. And let's play back if we can. I want to just kind of play back for our audience that missed it last night. We had a rare nighttime stream on WFLA Now last night, and Justin Shecker, and our Tampa Bay audience knows because they watched it on WFLA News Channel 8 at 11 o'clock last night. Justin Shecker interviewed Kathleen Moore's mother last night. Here's a portion of that interview back in 60 seconds.
I had that gut feeling. It's like a mother's instinct, and you just know when you don't, when you can't sense your child's spirit, you can sense them, and I could not, and I just had that gut feeling.
What does justice for your daughter Kathleen look like?
Well, first of all, prayers, and prayers do help a lot. Justice to me is finding out what really happened. I truly believe that we all in life have to take a journey, and I just wish that Kathleen's journey didn't stop where it did.
JB here with you live. That was the interview that you can watch more of on WFLA.com with Kathleen Moore's mom. We're getting in some new information, work information that we're working to confirm here as well, and this is what we do as far as interactive journalism. No commercial breaks. We try not to take breaks of any kind, and what we try to do is process the information that is coming into our newsroom in real time. So some new information has just come in the last several minutes. We're going to vet that information and see if we can present it to you here in just a few minutes. But the 3Ds, deputies, drones, and dogs were used to search this area, according to Sheriff Chris Nacco. The dogs somehow, according to Nacco, did not pick up on the scent of the remains, the decomposing remains of Kathleen Moore, and but it was, of course, found by members of the public. A search team of some kind, members of the public that were out there actively participating in the search for Kathleen Moore after a plea for help was put out by the Pasco Sheriff's Office. So that's an interesting note, and we might have some more information on that momentarily. But let's get to some of the other notes here from the press conference. Yeah, canines tracked the area, but weather and decomp were two of the reasons why, or the level of decomp, two of the reasons why Sheriff Chris Nacco says that the remains of Kathleen Moore were not found sooner, and not found by law enforcement. Again, found by the public, by civilians, as we understand it. So that was, he was trying to explain why, if the body was found 50 yards from the suspect's home, then why wasn't it found sooner? And he says that those are the factors, that weather could have come into play, the level of decomposition could have come into play, but that they had searched the area, according to Nacco, with deputies, with drones, with dogs, and that they did not find any sign of Kathleen Moore's body until it was discovered at this morning by a member of the public. You heard there, Sheriff Nocco calling out for justice for Kathleen. You heard Kathleen Moore's mother, Karen, talking there about justice for Kathleen. How did Kathleen die is a big question now. And as of now, we have no cause of death. We have the blood-soaked clothing that investigators say belonged to Colin Knapp. Let's throw him up here on your screen. That were found in the dumpster that was dumped out at the Pasco County landfill. The restaurant where he worked, blood-soaked clothing was found in that dumpster, and the identification was positive for DNA analysis. The blood sample sent to FDLE came back positive for Kathleen Moore. So that's how Colin Knapp was arrested, and then today, of course, we have the body that was found not too far away from where he lived. Of course, we noted earlier that Colin Knapp has been denied bond. He's charged with second-degree murder. You heard one of the reporters in the room ask whether or not, and back to Raven's comment, whether or not that there's going to be upgraded charges. One of the reporters asked that question. They'd said that not at this time. It's still a second-degree homicide charge. If that does get elevated, you'll find out about it on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Nocco also noting that 14 dumpsters were checked, that it was an exhaustive effort by law enforcement to look through these dumpsters to find evidence. But again, Kathleen Moore's body being identified based on tattoos. I'm going to step away from the microphone here for 60 seconds. 60 seconds here, everybody, on WFLA Now, as I try to just confirm some information that hopefully I can pass along here to you about the discovery of Kathleen Moore's remains. Again, back here in a roughly 60 seconds. During these 60 seconds, please file in your hashtag HeyJB questions or comments or observations, or if you just want to say prayers for Kathleen Moore's family, you can do so. We'll animate just the comments with that hashtag as we do here on WFLA Now, back in 60 seconds. And back here with you live, everybody, on WFLA Now. As we do when we get in information into our newsroom, the very important part of the process, and this is what we do as journalists, we make sure that we can present you that information because we have to verify its authenticity and verify the credibility of that piece of information that comes in. Sometimes we get in a piece of information, we vet it quickly, and we're able to present it to you. The information that we just got in, I know that I mentioned it. I can't report it at this time because I don't have it from a credible source of information. But if and it pertains to Kathleen Moore's body being discovered and who exactly discovered those remains, if we do get, a confirmation on that, we can of course pass it along to you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. But that's just part of what we do here. Of course, we have to work through the information that comes into our newsroom and validate what we can present to you as information from a credible news source. We take, of course, our jobs very, very seriously here at WFLA. And if we report something at WFLA, we want to make sure that it's credible information. So don't have that information that I was referencing confirmed at this time. If it is confirmed on this live stream, be more than happy to share it with you. But in the meantime, I don't have that information confirmed at this time. Let's get into some of the comments and questions that are coming in. What we do here on WFLA Now is we feature your comments, your questions using hashtag HeyJB. This is interactive journalism. This is how this works. You might have questions. You might have observations. Members of the community might have something to point out, something that I have missed. And of course, we bring up your comments here in real time and we talk about the stories that we cover and we feature your comments because we want to engage with you, our audience, via social media. So let's get to some of the comments that have come in the last several minutes. Aaron asking hashtag HeyJB with a great question. Does he know they found her body? We don't know. Does Colin Knapp know that a body was found 50 yards away from where he lives? We don't know. When suspects are apprehended and, of course, he's been denied bond, and you do have limited contact with the outside world, it's hard to say whether or not in the let's see, the 6 hours since the body was discovered, it's hard to say whether or not Colin Knapp has been informed. We can assure you he was not informed during his arraignment. But did he hear? Let's show you the arraignment one more time, because this is the last that we know of Colin Knapp. Colin Knapp being behind bars on the second-degree homicide charge. His arraignment was very brief. Did Colin Knapp have access to the judge's remarks after he was denied bond? Listen to this 60-second clip, and it'll kind of all make sense. We'll break it down soon thereafter. Actually, hold on. Let me load up that clip, and so I can show it to you. But this is, again, his arraignment that occurred at around, I think it was 12:05 Eastern Time, roughly. Here it is. This is the 60-second arraignment of Colin Knapp today, December 7th, 2021.
Okay, I can hear mine. Okay, thank you. Colin Knapp. Mr. Knapp, you had a warrant that was issued for you for murder in the second degree, and you've been set at no bond in this case. Do you wish to have an attorney to represent you in this matter?
Yes.
Can you afford one, sir?
No.
All right, well, appoint the public defender. The bond remain at no bond. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor,
Yes.
he's entitled to a bond unless the court makes a finding that proof of guilt is evident or the presumption is great, as per Rule 3.131 in the Rules of Criminal Procedure.
I'm aware of that, counsel.
I know you.
Okay, all right. And I am making that finding. So
Thank you, Judge.
perhaps you're not aware of, there's been new developments in that case as well. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Which makes it even clearer. Okay, next case.
And yeah, reading some notes here. So you heard there Judge Mansfield at the end there say that there was new developments in the case that makes it even clearer. Was that audio accessible to Colin Knapp? Would that have tipped off to Colin Knapp that the body was found? Don't know. And also, too, we don't know what kind of communication access Colin Knapp has behind bars in Pasco County. So to answer your question, Aaron, we don't know if he is aware. And also, too, if he's been appointed a public defender, if the public defender had an afternoon appointment with his client, Colin Knapp, then in that case, I would imagine that the public defender, hopefully briefed enough on the developments of today, would be able to then inform him that a discovery of a body has been made 50 yards or so from his home. Don't know. So the answer to this is an interesting question. It's a good one to kind of get us kicked off here because we don't know the answer to this question. Michelle, and this was a question that was echoed by a lot of our YouTube commenters during the last several minutes. Michelle asking #KJB, did Kathleen Moore's friends ever indicate that they were all aware of Colin Knapp's background, including Kathleen? I'd have to check with the friends that we spoke to of Kathleen Moore. Jessica Brummett, Justin Checker has been in contact with family members, and how much did they know about Colin Knapp's criminal history? Because it's a long one. We've got a hodgepodge of mugshots to choose from when it comes. This is his most recent, but Colin Knapp, in his press conference. Yeah, Justin, and Justin standing by. You can come sit down. Everybody, News Channel 8's Justin Checker was sitting in our newsroom, and he's got information. Hey, Justin.
Hey, yes. So, just where'd you leave off? Just obviously played the press conference.
The question that just came in from Michelle and a bunch of our YouTubers, and you've been speaking with Jessica Brummett, one of the closest friends of Kathleen Moore. Yeah. They wanted to know if the family and friends of Kathleen Moore were aware that Colin Knapp had a long criminal history. Did you were able to find that out in your reporting?
All we do know is we had that photograph that Jessica said she had met him for the first time was Thanksgiving, was 3-4 days before she vanished and the murder occurred. And she said he seemed a little bit off at that Thanksgiving. She made no mention to me about his lengthy criminal history. Obviously, JB, that was one of the first things when we found out about this case. We did dig into that record, which we held off on reporting until he was identified. My conversation with Kathleen's mother, which I know you played some of that sound to your audience here, she said she had maybe kind of seen him on FaceTime or spoken to him, but she really did not know him that well. Just knew that, had some relationship with her daughter, but did not know him that well.
And again, I just want to make sure I have this right. So Colin was at the Thanksgiving dinner, and he was being introduced
to the close friend Jessica's family. Yes, that was the first time she said she had met him there.
And little did they know, of course, how would you know? Little did they know that Kathleen Moore would go missing and then be the victim of homicide.
Yeah.
I was talking about last night, Justin. I was talking about how Thanksgiving this year was a little bit more significant because some states, Florida in particular, has been doing much better amid the pandemic. Omicron, of course, the first case being confirmed in the Tampa Bay area. That was happening today. But in large part, relatively with where we've been in the pandemic, Florida doing in large part much better now than over the course of where we've been in 2021. Yeah. And Thanksgiving was just a little bit more meaningful this year. People were getting together, a lot of friends, family, my friends and family were getting together for the first time in a long time, or at least an opportunity to see people for the first time in person at an event, a holiday when everyone has off like Thanksgiving. And it was a little bit more special this year. But for the Moore family and for Moore's closest friends, this is just a tragedy because they meet Colin Knapp, the boyfriend of Moore, and now, of course, we have this terrible outcome of events.
I think this is one thing that you heard Sheriff Nacco speak about last night. I didn't catch the whole press conference today, but in my reporting the last several days on this case, whether it's her immediate family, her mother and her siblings, whether it's the close friends, Nikki, who she was with, Jessica, the Brummett family, whether it's coworkers over at Whiskey Wings. I mean, this woman was adored, JB. I mean, just her, and you heard her mother talk about her outgoing, bubbly personalities, how she wants her daughter to be remembered. And you can see she had these different friend circles and close acquaintances, people at the bar who loved her there. So it's just really devastating for a lot of people who knew Kathleen, whether from work, from school, her family, the friends she grew up with in Pinellas County. And again, you heard the sheriff speak about this last night. To be remembered for anything, just remember how beloved this woman was and how she touched, so many people. So I did want to just mention that, and obviously join you now that the confirmation that just 50 yards away from the house, they find this body. And I can also, in my reporting today, I did speak with one of her sisters. The sheriff's office did notify the family, JB, before the press conference. And again, we waited off till they had the official confirmation that this is indeed the body of Kathleen Moore. But just like yesterday, the family was notified before Sheriff Nacco came out and spoke publicly to reporters, and obviously be able to stream that with our viewers here.
We had some follow-ups that just came in. Tonya Brown, #KJB, how long were they dating? And Valentina LaRae, #HeyJustin. So it was a
So
new relationship?
It's been described as an on and off again relationship. I think it's over the course of a few years. I don't know exactly how long. This wasn't a serious thing where the two of them lived there together. She had her own residence in Pinellas County. They had this on and off again relationship. And we know from her friend's account on that Sunday that, there have been arguments during the day. They went out to, I believe it was a beach bar in Indian Rocks. There was obviously drinking involved. And at that point, Kathleen had left her friend in Largo to go back with Colin to his house there. So I don't know the exact years, but it's been described to me by multiple friends as an on and off again relationship.
All right, Justin, appreciate you stopping in.
I can hang for a little more. Any more?
You can hang out for as long as you want. Mike's always open over here on WFLA Now. So let's. You want to take a couple more?
Yeah, I got a few more minutes here.
Justin, all our team of reporters always working around the clock. Everybody, as far as the stories that we cover here at WFLA. Let's get to this one from Kania. I remember she joined us yesterday, and she says, hashtag, and hopefully, Kenny, I'm pronouncing your name correctly, hashtag HJB. We were looking for her on Sunday from Celtic Road and couldn't see through the swamp and the trees. I think it speaks to, and let's show you the Eagle 8 HD video here one more time. It's Eagle 8 HD video is great, but in some respects, it doesn't do us complete justice for just how heavy or how wooded an area can be. This is a relative for it being right next to a line of homes on Carmel Avenue, a heavy enough wooded area that again it appears. And let's get to. I'll bring up Cherry's comment right behind Kanya's hashtag AJB. They said that she was covered up as well, sort of concealed, they said, so that she possibly wouldn't be found. That's also how it sounded to me, that leaves and brush were covering this body.
There was some effort to conceal the body, and just the fact that it's so close to the home is obviously a bit shocking. I did catch some of the press conference, JB, which Sheriff Nacco talked about. A lot of the focus was on the dumpsters where they found the bloodied clothes. Obviously, they dumped that over at the landfill, recovered that key evidence. He also mentioned the dumpster where the phone was found. So, they were searching, they were looking, but again, I think this is, as you heard the major crimes detective say last night, obviously having the body is important for the prosecution, for the legal case, but more so than anything, just important to recover this young woman's body for closure for her family. And the fact that here we are now, what is about 8-9 days after the murder, her being reported missing, to have the body recovered, hopefully that does bring some closure for Kathleen's family.
David Fassel, hashtag AJB, how much heavy brush was over her body? Enough that it was concealed. Rivera Freddy, hashtag AJB, prayers to the family. I'm living this right now with my daughter in Florida. I'm in Philadelphia, and it just breaks my heart. I pray for my daughter every day. Domestic violence, domestic abuse awareness. These are domestic violence awareness. It was a theme in this press conference. It's been a theme in way too many stories that we have covered of late. It is an emerging conversation, a conversation that is so strenuously overdue. And I'm glad
you heard the sheriff say if anything could come out of this. Obviously, we talked so much with Gabby Petito's story. Now here we are, just a few months later, a tumultuous relationship that obviously ended in this horrific murder and the violence here. And knowing there are resources available for anyone out there who knows a loved one who is in a domestic violence relationship. You heard the sheriff talk about this, and it's just got to pray people can get the help they need, can have these abusive relationships before it's too late. And if anything come out of these horrible stories, JB, is just us talking about it, raising more awareness. I know you tweeted out last night. What was the organization you spotlighted?
Pasco Sunrise Shelter. Sunrise Shelter of Pasco County. This is a domestic violence shelter for folks in the Tampa Bay area, not just for Pasco County. Yeah. So I want to speak to people in Tampa Bay. If you have a situation involving domestic violence, domestic abuse, if you feel like you have no other choice but to stay in the relationship that you are in, you are wrong. You do not have to be subjugated to abuse in an abusive relationship. And the great folks over at Sunrise Shelter of Pasco County, Sunrise Shelter of Tampa Bay, they are willing to help you out. And there's also a national hotline. I tweeted out the information yesterday. I participated in a charity live stream event. Big shout out to the folks over at Popcorn Planet. Local streamer Andy Signori, who organized a charity event to raise money for Sunrise Shelter of Pasco County. This is an overdue conversation. We've had it with way too many stories that we have covered of late, and I just want people out there to know that you're not alone if you're somebody who has suffered from an abusive relationship or have been the victim of domestic violence, and that there are resources out there to help you. So please do not feel, I don't want anyone out there to ever feel like you don't have a choice, that you do not have a way out. You do. You always do. There are people ready to help you. And again, those resources on my WFLA JB Twitter account, but they're also on WFLA.com and the WFLA app.
Well said, JB.
Kevin, senior hashtag HeyJB, thank you, and prayers to the family and friends. A lot of prayer comments coming in as well. And Marissa Jean with, if there's one question now that we don't know the answer to, and I don't know how much, families grieve in different ways, and loved ones of the deceased react in different ways and grieve in different ways. But Marissa asking hashtag HeyJB, how was she killed? We don't have a cause of death.
Look, this is the bodies are recovered, what, about 5-6 hours ago, if that.
And some families want to know. I would say that most families want to know how their loved one died, but it's not. For some families, it's an urgent piece of information that they want to find out through the grieving process for them to gain closure, to know exactly what happened. But we don't know. I mean, have you've been in contact with the family?
I think you played the clip last night where I asked the mom. I said,
played it twice.
What does justice look like? And she talked about getting to the bottom of the truth of what happened. So presumably the family wants to know more detail, what happened, what could have led him to snap, to a motive to turn this violent. So they want answers about what happened that night, and obviously the amount of information we've gained in the last 24 hours. It's certain that the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, this is a top priority for them now. As you know, is in these cases, the body will likely be turned over to, probably is already being turned over to the medical examiner to determine a cause and manner of death. Obviously, the manner here, they've already determined this being a homicide based on the blood evidence they recovered. But the how, that should come out in the next few weeks, JB, if not publicly, as we continue to follow the legal proceedings in court. I imagine that evidence will be entered at some point into this case.
And Marissa, I think we're going to wrap up here our WFLA Now streaming coverage with that comment. WFLA's Jeff Patterson is live on the air tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 covering this story. And yeah, this is, and let me just confirm, I just had somebody text me. With a message that I'd like to share with all of you, and hopefully I can do so. But yeah, I want to bring up. All right, I just got a message from Joe Petito. He says he's watching right now. Oh, wow. And Joe Petito, Gabby Petito's father, someone who is trying to do some tremendous good in the world through the Gabby Petito Foundation, which we have talked about so much here on WFLA Now, Justin, myself, WFLA's Josh Benson, WFLA's Allison Henning. We have talked about the Gabby Petito Foundation and what Joe Petito, Nicole Schmidt, Tara Petito, Jim Schmidt, the entire Petito family and their inner circle, their very, very close-knit inner circle, what they are trying to do. And Joe Petito just said he's watching the stream, and he just shot me a text. He says, I hope all is well. I'm watching the stream. If you could, put up the phone number to Sunrise to people so that they can see it. This whole story is heartbreaking. It is. And I'm speaking to you, Joe. It's heartbreaking. And it's another story of domestic violence being a theme in a relationship between two people. And in this case, we have Colin Knapp being arrested and charged with second-degree homicide, and we have 34 years old was Kathleen Moore, her whole life ahead of her. I mean, young, Justin, and had her whole life ahead of her, and she's with us no more. It's just a terrible, just a tragic story.
And again, from being where she worked at the bar there, Whiskey Wings, I mean, she was beloved there, but her mom also told me that she had hoped to become a nurse one day. She was taking phlebotomy classes and wanted to pursue that. We also had reported that, she does have a daughter who she had when she was younger, is being raised by another family, but she was still in that young girl's life as well. And obviously the sister is being left behind, so it's just really heartbreaking all around. And the one other thing, I don't know if I mentioned this, JB, when I talked to the mom yesterday, the last time she spoke with her daughter would have been on her birthday, was last Sunday. So now this mother is going to have this horrible, anniversary around when her birthday was the last time she's able to talk to her daughter. And there you see the number on the screen. JB just put it up. Sunrise Shelter of Pasco County, 352-521-3120.
There's also a national domestic violence hotline. It's easier to remember. 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. It's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And again, domestic violence being the opening theme of the press conference last night and repeated again today by Sheriff Chris Nacco. That's 2 press conferences in a 24-hour period connected to the Kathleen Moore's homicide, where he says that domestic violence was a component here in this relationship. It's been part of their investigation. And he, too, was encouraging others and mentioned Sunrise of Pasco County by name. So putting up the number there on screen. And again, the words of, one more time, the words of Joe Petito. This whole story is heartbreaking. And it is. It's a heartbreaking story. And again, talking about somebody who was so full of life, somebody who was so beloved here in the Tampa Bay area, lived in Pinellas County, traveled, obviously, it was in Pasco County, and just had so much life to her and was so vibrant in the way that she touched people. It just is truly a heartbreaking story. And I want to bring up, I did have a comment here, and I don't know if I might have lost it because it came in about 10 minutes ago. But Justin, there was a commenter that said, it's like, how do we cover these stories, these over and over again, these tragic stories? First and foremost, let me just say to our audience and communicate with you this. I don't want these stories. We've had a lot of them of late. We never want to cover these stories. If somebody goes missing, we want there to be.
We want them to be found.
The chance, yes, we want them to be found. That's why when missing person alerts come in, and I've talked with Joe Petito quite a bit about missing person alerts and the systems and the technology, that we do everything that we can in the media. And Justin and I really focus on Tampa Bay. We really focus on Florida. We're really trying to help out the families of our DMA and trying to help bring more happy ends than tragic ones to these missing persons cases. This was one. Kathleen Moore was a missing person after Thanksgiving, after the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. We were hoping, Justin, you were hoping, I was hoping, our entire WFLA team was hoping that this was, the best ones are the ones where they send out the alert, and then
2 hours later, they found him.
Exactly. Yep. 2 hours later, we get the follow-up alert. Thank you so much to the public. Thank you for all the shares on social media. So-and-so person was found. And then I always have a little bit of not necessarily a smile on my face, but it's better to tweet out that someone has been found.
The alert's been canceled. The child is home safe. We got obviously the silver alerts with older folks in our community who will go missing. And again, we always pray for these resolutions. If Joe's still watching, GB, I always remember this when I first talked to Joe Petito, when I had asked if he had thought something bad had happened to his daughter. I always remember he told me this, and I don't know if he's still watching. He said he was just going to believe she was out there lost, off the grid, without her phone, maybe a little disoriented until someone told him otherwise, and just the hope that his family held on to until they got that grim news a few months ago. And obviously in this case here now, just 8 or so days after she's no longer heard from, they now have her body, and now the on and off again boyfriend sits in the jail. I believe he's being held no bond, correct? That's what came out of the hearing today. Denied bond. And look, we'll see what the medical examiner determines, whether or not that's enough evidence to upgrade the charges in this case or not. But again, speaking to the mom yesterday, they were praying that she would be found, that it was in God's hands. I could tell the mother's a fairly religious person. I imagine the family will be leaning on their faith as they try to cope with this tragedy. But like JB said, every time we get these alerts, we're always hoping for that good resolution, that the alert's canceled shortly after, and that the loved ones can come home to their families. It's been, like you said, a few too many sad stories here in these last couple of months. And again, just speaking to so many people the last few days, you can really see how much that Kathleen Moore will be missed here in Tampa Bay.
One more time, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE. Maybe we can end out this stream if you're on YouTube. Hashtag you're not alone. Twitter, Facebook, you're not alone. If there's something that can be done to raise awareness to domestic violence awareness and that emerging cause, and a cause that is, again, it's long over, these conversations long overdue. I've talked about it at length before. And hashtag you're not alone, because if you are a victim of domestic violence, if you have suffered from domestic abuse, if you've been in a abusive relationship, hashtag you're not alone. And I want to make that as clear as possible. One more time, National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE. Sunrise Shelter of Pasco County, serving the Tampa Bay area. They also have a hotline, 352-521-3120 on the bottom of your screen, as well as resources available to you on sunrisepasco.org. I'll end out here with one final comment from our commenters. Linda Gordish, hashtag AJB. Rest easy, sweet angel. Prayers for her family and all who loved her. God bless. Justin, any final notes before we wrap up?
Again, it's been a fast-moving 24 hours with the news of the arrest and now the recovery of her body. We will obviously stay on top of this to see what the medical examiner does find, and we will be obviously following the court case with Colin Knapp, now charged with second-degree murder. But hopefully the recovery of her body can provide some closure to Kathleen Moore's family and friends. I have reached out to a friend to see if there's going to be any type of vigil tonight. I have not yet heard back. My phone's over there, so we'll obviously keep an eye out if there's any more services, ceremonies to remember and honor her life, and we will definitely stay on top of that. And again, our thoughts and prayers with Kathleen Moore's family and friends as they go through this difficult time. But as we're trying to do here, trying to raise some awareness here about domestic violence, and hopefully someone maybe sees this and is able to get the help they need, and something good can come out of this awful tragedy out of Pasco County.
I'm seeing Monica and Bibi and Haley and Tyla and Deeks and Sherry and Sapphire, Eddie, a lot of folks now commenting with hashtag you're not alone. You're not alone. Linda, thank you for the comment. Justin, thanks for sitting down with us. I know you're working on a lot of stories for tonight on WFLA News Channel 8.
We'll be picking up the coverage from Jeff Patterson. We just did a little report here in the newsroom about taping Pearl Harbor anniversary day as well. So a lot of news going on today. And
busy day in Tampa.
Busy day in Tampa. We'll be picking up the coverage 6 and 11 with more of what Sheriff Nacco had to say today, and just this big development today now that Kathleen Moore's body has been found. And that's actually the photo there. It was just her with Jessica on the Thanksgiving photo there. You just saw on the screen.
If we hear of any candlelight vigils, as Justin noted, it was a great point. If we hear anything, we'll share it on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. I'd really like to just share a heartfelt thanks to all of our commenters, everybody joining us here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, hashtag AJB, hashtag you're not alone. I really appreciate it. To everybody, the very latest on this story and all the stories that we've been covering on a busy day in Tampa Bay. It's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. For Justin Shecker, I'm JB Bune, and we'll see you next time on WFLA Now.